Guys, the market has been moving aggressively this week, dropping fast. We're basically seeing a crash. Actually, this is a natural price movement for Bitcoin. But since Bitcoin dominance is rising, the altcoins are really taking a hit. This past week, we barely traded in the VIP community. And why is that? Because the market pretty much didn't make any retracement moves. So, since the market didn't make any retracement moves, it makes our decision making a bit harder. Because the market basically didn't capture any internal liquidity for us to catch this downward acceleration. However, we did manage to catch a good opportunity in ZEC. We were able to close out some interesting trades. But this downward movement, the short that the market has been developing this week, I couldn't catch it halfway through because, like I said, there was no retracement move. We managed to get a good position on the wave. Alright, so let me update you all on what could happen next. A lot of people are getting liquidated, and a lot of people are asking me what to do right now. Obviously, for us to trade at any point in the market, we need the setup to form. What is a setup? It would be the formation of structure, internal liquidity. The market is going to liquidate those people, and that's when we set up our position. So for us to catch the movement, in this market moment, to go long, if we're looking at the LTF, we need flow alignment. We need a confirmation of structure on a time frame, like 15 minutes, for example. A structure similar to this one. Obviously, this is a very high risk move, okay? But here on the 15-minute chart, I could try to take a trade, try along here. This is a setup that I'm going to lay out for you now. Let it be clear that this is extremely risky. Okay, because the market is accelerating downward, right? So obviously, taking a long position is extremely risky, all right? But if I were to take a long, I would definitely do it in this area. I would go for a setup similar to this one. It would be interesting for us to try to catch a long setup along these lines here without having that confirmation. When I talk about flow alignment, I mean the price forming a reaction here at a top that is a protected top, just like in this example here. Because otherwise, you're going to get caught in a lot of fake reactions, okay? And the market will just keep accelerating downward. So you take a trade here where the risk is at 2%, you set your leverage below. If you want to try along, go ahead and try along, all right? For us to take a short, we're going to have to wait for the market to sweep the liquidity. There's a lot of liquidity building up right here. Look, the market comes to sweep up this liquidity, then we take a short, okay? I'll update all of this. In the community though, it's just so you understand that you can't just open a position out of nowhere here, you know? You can't just open a position out of nowhere, otherwise you'll get liquidated. The market is moving quickly. When that happens, the swings, it's not just 0.5% anymore. The swings are 1%, 2%, and a fifth in 15 minutes. So you really have to be careful, okay? But the focus of this video is going to be more of a macro analysis, right? I just went over this 15-minute one so you could understand what it would be like. This alignment, but the focus is going to be more on macro analysis, so you can understand what might happen here. On Bitcoin's monthly chart, the market worked here with the shock, changing its character. This upward movement we saw at the start of the year was nothing more than a pullback move to close this inefficiency that was left behind, this FVG, and to accelerate again. So what's important here for us to take into consideration? This hot zone, which is between 57,370 and 38,740, would be the base from the impulse up to its top, so between the 0.62 and 0.79 Fibonacci levels. Our hot zone on Bitcoin's monthly chart is right here. We've already had a break of this low, which means a boss, right? After this break, what could happen next? The market might keep moving, fluctuating here, but then it will continue on. This movement, right in the middle of these fluctuations, is where we can find shorting opportunities, okay? Even on the intraday chart. Alongside that, what else can we observe? That we have open liquidity in the 48,975 region, right? This is the liquidity from the monthly chart. It's really strong liquidity, okay? Really strong. But before this liquidity gets swept, I believe that within the hot zone, at the upper part, okay, up to its center, which is where 0.705 is, we'll have plenty of opportunities to catch long trades. And it could happen that the market doesn't sweep this liquidity because it's so far out, especially when looking at a higher time frame chart, which is the case here. However, this sweep could also happen. But within the Watt zone, I'd rather build my long position. On Bitcoin, especially if it's a low leverage trade or focused on the long or medium term, in this area here, between 48 and 38, I know this is the region where I'll have really good accuracy. Here, the price will definitely touch and easily reverse. This is where I'd really like it to get there so I could set up some heavy long positions, you know? But if you're focused on investing, you can already start building a position here at 57, 55, 50, okay? But if you want to be the kind of person who really nails exactly where the price will touch and reverse, where you won't have to sweat too much, go for around 48,500 or so. But it's possible the price won't reach that area, okay? Because there's a lot of strong liquidity here. And throughout the whole process, for the price to get to that liquidity, there was a lot of rejection in that region where we see a lot of wicks. So it's a value area. So the price might have trouble getting past this region where it is right now. So to sum up Bitcoin, it's reaching an interesting area for us to build long positions and for the long term. In the short term, it's like I told you guys, wait for alignment. 15 minutes, 1 hour, so we can catch good trades. If there are any opportunities, I'll share them in the community, in the VIP group. I also share a lot of ideas in the free group, but of course, I share things in more detail in the VIP group and more opportunities as well. But for Bitcoin, I'd be looking at these areas. I'd be watching these areas. Now, Ethereum. Let's go. I'll cover the main points here so you have a sense of what could happen. Here's the deal with Ethereum. Looking at the macro, I see the same thing. The price is showing a lot of interest on the downside. And when there's interest on the downside, what does it need? It needs liquidity. It needs liquidity. And where is Ethereum's liquidity? Ethereum's liquidity is right here. We have it right here. Two lows are showing us where Ethereum's liquidity is. This one and this one. They're at the same level. Basically, they're at the same level where there's a lot of liquidity. Below, it's in the 1370 region. That's where Ethereum's liquidity is. What could happen here? The market could come and sweep up that liquidity. The market comes in, sweeps up that liquidity, gets rejected, then lines up the flow and shoots upward. That's what we expect to happen. If it gets to that region, I'll definitely build large positions. I'll definitely build large positions for the medium term. But what about the short term? For those who like intraday trading, for those who like scalping? Man, it's just like I said about Bitcoin. We're gonna wait. Once the market aligns the flow, since it's already reached an interesting price level, a key level, we can wait for alignments so we can go long. It's high risk, but with a tight stop loss, okay? But with a tight stop loss, no wide stop losses here, because if the market decides to break down, it's gonna hit your stop loss no matter where you put it. So set a tight stop loss and wait for the price to play out. If the price moves in your favor, even better. Why? Because the market is gonna look for internal liquidity, right? How do I know this is a liquidity area? Well, you're gonna have to study, man. Or you can just message me and I'll find a way to help you out. Maybe get you a spot in my mentorship program, okay? So you can learn how to spot liquidity here, recognize a key level, or see when there's an interesting point, all right? For example, so we can set up a short position, right? Of course, it's going to depend on how the price gets there, and it'll also depend on the volume of the move, but that would be an example of how we'd be trading in that situation. In a scenario like this, we don't just jump in randomly. Our community, RB Cryptos, doesn't just enter the market at random. Just because people are saying the world is ending, that doesn't mean it actually is, guys. There's going to be a market all year long still. Every single day, there's going to be a market. So just because today there's a really strong move, it doesn't mean you have to make a desperate decision like the world is ending. That's not it. So you need to have maturity in the market. The market isn't a game. It's not for messing around. That's why every time there's a drop like this, people's accounts just blow up, right? Everything blows up. Because people don't have market maturity, they don't study, they don't follow those who really know the market, right? People just follow anyone who gives out signals, and that's it. No, the market doesn't work like that, okay? So with Ethereum, basically that's it, all right? Let's move on. AVAX is another altcoin. It's also interesting because a lot of people ask me about it, okay? Here's the thing with AVAX. It had this area here as liquidity, okay? Let me highlight it in yellow, just to make it clear. AVAX had this area here as liquidity, and that liquidity got swept up, all right? If we draw a trend line here, we can even see some interesting liquidity here. That liquidity was swept up. So what do we have? We have the first key level around the 6.50 region, looking at the weekly chart. When we look at the weekly, we see this internal order block here. This area here is an internal order block. If we switch to a lower time frame, we'll spot an accumulation zone here. It's an accumulation similar to this one, but internal, okay? On the daily and 4-hour charts, we have a value area here. So we could say, right, that we have a key level at 6.50 here, okay? It's a region where investors, okay, not traders, but investors could start building positions here, all right? Either spot or with 2 times or 1 times leverage, okay? To average out the price, all right? In this 4.74 region, if the market really turns bearish, if the market stays down all next week, the whole week, then we could average out the price in this region for investors. If the price hits this region and mitigates this key level, then we'll do the same thing on the LTF that we did with Ethereum and Bitcoin. You can see that here on AVAX, it's really weak. It didn't even make the shock move. It just followed the last one, order block right here. It generated a lot of liquidity. So the most interesting thing here is this. You wait for the price to come and sweep this liquidity. The price comes and sweeps this liquidity here. The price comes and sweeps this liquidity. Mitigating order block is the flow 10 line down. That's another possibility we have here. But that's on the LTS. And I'm sharing both perspectives because there are people who do daily trading, right? There are folks who really like that. Then there are the investors. Let's also see how SOL is going to develop too. People ask me a lot about SOL. SOL is also pretty interesting for investing. It has a key level here around the 49 region, this 49 area. This area is interesting for building a position. For investors, it's already reaching a pretty attractive price, you know? But I think if the market picks up speed, it's going to clear out that dust for me. Yeah, it's going to clear out that dust below it. And there's also this region here that's really interesting. So there are 2 barriers for the price. And for investors, it would be really interesting to have an average price between 50 and 30. Man, that would be amazing if the price came down and swept out those people who bought early. It would be great for us to catch a good one, to catch a market acceleration. Another interesting one too, and for the medium term, right, would be AVE. Aave has liquidity at 45, at $45. This altcoin here, a lot of people thought it wouldn't drop anymore. And then the market made a move. And on the monthly chart, it's been almost a year. It's been going down. I took a short position on it. And the damn market didn't mitigate. My target area, it got really close, but that's okay. As crazy as it sounds, this altcoin here has the potential to come and sweep up that liquidity, okay? Even though it's already swept up some interesting liquidity here, this actually validates those who want to buy now, okay? For a medium-term investment. And even though it swept that liquidity, the liquidity here is still very interesting. However, there's another liquidity zone down here that's even more interesting, not just because of that. It's an external liquidity, but also because it's a retail support level at similar levels. Retail investors really like to buy in these areas, putting their stop loss just below and under this level. We've got a block right here. Look, super interesting. So for investments, if someone really wants to nail it, this would be the region. But sometimes I like to start building a small position earlier just to get in and manage it from within. When it's for investment, I average in more heavily when it gets to that region. But those are just possibilities. Don't go in blindly. It's the same thing. Like I said before, wait for alignment. I've already shown you how to do it, okay, guys? I'm just going to show these altcoins here, these five, because the video is already at 17 minutes, all right? But join the free group if you can't afford to join the VIP. If you can afford to join the VIP, go ahead and join the VIP. Makes your life easier, okay? If you want to learn, all right, I have one spot available for private mentoring, okay? It's one-on-one, just me and the person. It's an intensive focus, all right? And that's it. Let's go for it. Let's see how the next market moves will be, and let's be prepared, okay? Value your money. That's all I'm telling you. Value your money.